First time back at the cinema. Felt so good to be back. Godzilla vs. Kong. Godzilla vs. Kong is directed by Wingard and stars loads of famous people such as Millie, Bryan, Chandler, Skarsgard, Rebecca Hall, Julian Denson, Bryan, Tyree, and loads of famous people. And basically, the film tells the story of the epic battle between Godzilla and Kong. As I've seen in the film, basically scientists are testing on Kong. And long story short, these scientists figure out that potentially they can get to this mythical world if they use Kong to get there. And at the same time though, we also meet Godzilla, who is wreaking havoc all over the world. But no one really knows why. And at the same time though, we also meet this big evil organization known as Apex in the film, who are making their own big mechanical monster. I wonder what that could be. Basically, long story short, the starting to do with Kong and starting to do with Godzilla end up clashing into big epic battles, and that's what the film basically is in the end. Because I've just described the plot for the film, but in the end, it's a Godzilla vs. Kong film. You know what you're getting for, and basically that's what the film is about in the end. The big epic battles between Godzilla vs. Kong, and not to give too much away here, but they end up doing the Batman v Superman thing against this big mechanical monster. What could that be? In the third act of the film. If you've seen Batman v Superman, don't know what I mean there. But anyway, that's basically the plot for Godzilla vs. Kong. It's essentially a Godzilla vs. Kong film. That's what the film mainly focuses on. The big epic battles between Godzilla vs. Kong, and there's some other storylines going on throughout the film with some of the human characters. And honestly, I just enjoyed the hell out of the film. I thought it was so enjoyable to watch, and just so much fun to watch. It's one of the most enjoyable films I've seen in a long time, and honestly, I also thought it was a perfect movie to go back to the cinema with for the first time in a very long while. Like, I haven't been to the cinema since last March now, and I'm pretty sure I saw Tenet last March, or might be last April or something like that. I'm wrong. The last time I went to the cinema was actually October to go and see Alien. But apart from that though, I haven't probably been to the cinema in a long time. And honestly, this was a perfect movie to go back to the cinema to. Honestly, it really was. I just sat there with a huge grin on my face through most of this movie. I mean, this movie isn't one of those movies which asks you to think a lot about the movie. Because honestly, when you do start to think about the movie and the logistics of the movie and everything, you start to notice huge plot holes in the film. Huge plot holes. Like, plot holes that literally Kong could run through, or like Godzilla could swim through. The plot holes are that big in the film. Honestly, they really are. The film has so many problems, but in the end, it's so enjoyable. Before I can get on to why I think this film is so enjoyable, I am going to talk about some of the plot problems of this film, and some of the things that didn't really work for me personally, and kind of made me like, was that working as best as it could have been? Let's talk about the human characters in the film first of all. They're all pointless. They're all pointless and indispensable. Apart from one character in the film, which we're going to get onto later in the review, they're mostly all pointless and indispensable. And honestly, I just, sometimes in the film when you want to see more of Kong and Godzilla, the film cuts to the human characters, and they're really not that interested in the film, I must admit. And there's one character in particular played by Julian Denson, my pronouncing her name wrong, probably I am. She is just pointless in the film. She shows up and says, oh, I'm this character. She's just there through quite a lot of the big scenes in the film, and then I just didn't really get who she was meant to be in the film. She just was kind of pointless. And at the same time, though, quite a lot of other human characters are pointless as well. But one thing I will say about the human characters, I'm going to talk about it a bit later in the review as well. One thing I will say about the human characters is they're all enjoyable to watch, though. I will say that. Actually, I didn't mind watching all of them. They all brought kind of their own energy to the film, particularly the whole storyline to do with Bryan, Tyree, Julian Denson, and Millie Brown. That was actually a really fun storyline to watch in the film, in my opinion. It was kind of like a Goonies storyline in the film, which I kind of like watching. I mean, it was kind of pointless in the grand scheme of things, but I enjoyed watching the film. At the same time, though, I'm not entirely sure why Millie Brown and Chandler were actually in the film. I mean, again, it's meant to be continuing that sense of continuity from Godzilla King of the Monsters, because obviously, Millie Brown and Chandler were in that film, and obviously this is a continuation from that story which has taken place in Godzilla King of the Monsters. But at the same time, now, I didn't really get why they were in this film, especially Chandler, who just pops up in about 3 scenes, and he was literally just there for the sake of being Millie Brown's character far in the film. It's been like, yeah, I don't really get why you're there. I mean, I'm not saying the performance is a bad film, they're doing the best they can with the script they got, I must admit, but I just think they get why those two characters were there, other than to bring a sense of continuity with Godzilla King of the Monsters. At the same time though, another big problem in this film in my opinion, well not really a big problem in the end, but just something which kind of bothered me about the film, I must admit, is I feel that in some parts it was cut. I feel large sections of the film were cut. At the same time though, I feel that some other large sections of the film which are a bit overlong. It's a weird thing in this film. And I almost feel that Wingard, the director of the film, shot an epic 3-hour monster film. But then he took the film to Warner Bros., the studio produced the film, and they said, no, we want it 2 hours. I mean, I don't actually know how long the film is, but that's what what it feels like. It feels like Adam Wingard shot a much longer film, and then they said cut it down. And I mean, I'm not saying the cut down is a huge issue for me in the film, but the work along with the film was like, okay, but just jump it there now. Okay, that was quite quick. That was done really, really quick actually. Just for him to get there was done really, really quick, and it's just things like down the film which kind of bother me a bit, especially the end. That literally you have the big final epic fight between all these big monsters, and then about 3 minutes later the film ends. And in those 3 minutes though, they're finishing off about 10 storylines, and it's just done so quickly. It's been like, oh, that was really, really quick, and now the film's ending. And I really like the end of the film, I should say, by the way. I really like the way the film ended, but at the same time though, it just almost felt like there's a longer film there, and we got a cut down version of that longer film. I'm not saying the cut down version is bad. I actually quite enjoy how some of the characters just get to the point in some moments, and there aren't any long moments where you're just waiting for things to happen. But at the same time though, the worst moments in my opinion, which was sped up and a bit rushed in my opinion, and I do feel there's a longer film out there. Not one that I'm really dying to see or anything, because I still really enjoyed this film, but I just feel Adam Wingard shot a longer film and the studio wanted it shorter. But that's not a huge criticism. It just kind of bothered me in some stage of the film. But, saying all that though, saying all my problems with the film, I still enjoyed the hell out of it. Honestly, I was so excited to watch this film. Honestly, I really was. Like, I've been reviewing the monster films recently on this channel because I'm a huge fan of them. I'm a huge fan of monster films. I really have a soft spot for them, and I'm not really sure why. I mean, I grew watching the original King Kong vs. Godzilla as a child, and I remember absolutely loving that film as a child, and then obviously I watched it again recently, and it's so bad it's great. I did my own video on it not too long ago now, and honestly, that movie is so bad it's great. It's so much fun to watch, but at the same time though, I'm also a fan of other monster films as well. Like, I'm a huge fan of Peter Jackson's King Kong, which came out in 2005. Huge fan of that film. That's a brilliant film. And by the way, that film also has Kyle Chandler in. So Kyle Chandler has now been in 2 separate films that have no connection at all, both involving King Kong. The 2005 King Kong, directed by Peter Jackson, and obviously now Godzilla vs. Kong. And I just think that's kind of funny. But at the same time though, I'm also a fan of Godzilla vs. Godzilla, which came out in 2014. I quite enjoy that film. You know, that's the start of this current monsterverse which Godzilla vs. Kong takes place in. And I quite enjoy that film. At the same time though, I'm a huge fan of Kong Skull Island. I think that's a really enjoyable film. And at the same time though, I enjoy Godzilla King of the Monsters. I mean, it's a bit forgettable, but it's enjoyable watching it. I must admit, I don't hate Godzilla King of the Monsters, but at the same time though, I don't particularly like it either. But I was really excited for Godzilla vs. Kong. Just to see a modern take on the whole idea of Godzilla vs. Kong really excited me, especially from someone like me, who literally grew up watching the original King Kong vs. Godzilla, and just being able to watch a modern take on this story, and it delivers. It just delivers so well. I enjoy myself so much in this film, and whether that was because, you know, it was the first time I've been back to something in a long time, I don't know, but honestly, it just worked to me. It really did. And like I said, even all the human stuff, which was kind of indispensable in the film, was enjoyable to watch. There was a certain energy of all the human characters. Unlike Godzilla King of the Monsters, where all the human characters are really bland and all talking about how they might die pretty soon, you know, unlike that film, the human characters are all really fun to watch in the film, which I really liked about it. At the same time, though, the film delivers on what you want. Big, epic monster fights, and it's just done so well. Honestly, I enjoyed the monster fights so much in the film. Like, I must admit, the first clash between Godzilla and Kong did feel a bit forced. Like, if you've seen the trailer, you know what fight I'm talking about. The fight that takes place with all the airships when they're on the ocean and everything. The first fight between them two did feel a bit forced, but it was a proper epic fight and had a roaring score by Tom Hulkenberg, aka Junkie XL, going in the background. I was like, oh, this is what you want from a monster film. This is delivering so well. At the same time though, I love the introduction to the monster film. I love the introduction to Godzilla. I love the introduction to Kong in the film, especially the introduction to Kong. That was done brilliantly. I mean, I love the introduction to Godzilla as well. You really feel the epicness of the film just through the introduction to Godzilla. At the same time though, I also love the introduction to this other mechanical monster. I'm not going to give it away, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, you probably don't know anything about this film at all, but there's one mechanical monster which pops up late in the second act of the film, and I love the introduction to that. And at the same time though, I'm also a huge fan of the score by Tom Hulkenberg, aka Junkie XL, which worked really well on the film. Like I said, the roaring score, which worked so well. It just makes you feel the epicness of the film. And at the same time though, I think it's really well made. I think Adam Wingard clearly has an eye for how to direct a monster film, and I just think he does it so well. At the same time though, I love the use of music in the film. Like, not only do you have this fantastic musical score, but at the same time though, you have the use of songs in the film as well. Like, what's it, In the Air That I Breathe by the Hollies, something like that. It works really well in the film. That song plays at the end of the film, and I thought that was a brilliant use of that song. And at the same time though, it's just so enjoyable to watch. Honestly, it was a perfect movie to watch after not going to the cinema for such a long time. It really was. It was so much fun to watch. Even though the characters, which were kind of indispensable in the film, were all enjoyable to watch in my opinion. I enjoyed watching all the characters in the film. Oh, at the same time though, the one character I forgot to talk about, there's one young girl in the film which has a special connection with Kong, and she can only communicate with him through sign language. And I thought that character was actually something which was really good about the film. I thought that was the heart of the film, and it just worked so well. And it just shined throughout the film, and I thought that was brilliant in the film. I really did. I loved the whole storyline with the girl and Kong in the film. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. And honestly, it's just so much fun to watch in the end. I enjoyed the hell of the film. You really feel the epicness of it. It's a proper monster film in every sense of the word. And at the same time though, it's just so enjoyable to watch. It was a perfect movie to go back to the cinema to, even though it does have some huge, giant plot holes which literally King Kong would run through. But personally for me, I didn't mind it in the end, because it was just so much enjoyable to watch, and I just sat there with a smile on my face through most of the film. And even though it's not my favourite monster film, I don't even think it's the best monster film in this current monsterverse. I still prefer Kong Skull Island personally. I still enjoyed the hell of this film. I thought it was so enjoyable to watch, so much fun to watch, and delivers on what you want from a Godzilla vs. Kong film. It's called Godzilla vs. Kong in the end. That's what you get from the film, and honestly, I really enjoyed it. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Godzilla vs. Kong, I'm going to say that it's a 7 out of 10. Yes, I haven't rated this film that high, I must admit. But film-wise, it's got a lot of big problems. I think film-wise, it's quite iffy film-wise. But enjoyment-wise, I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10. Honestly, it's just so enjoyable to watch. It really is. I actually sat there with a huge smile on my face through most of the film, because it's just so enjoyable to watch. And honestly, that's what made my rating of this film so much higher than I originally thought it was going to be, because it was just so enjoyable to watch. It's got this really fantastic score. I thought the characters were really fun to watch. You know, they were all born with certain energy with them, even if they were a bit indispensable. And at the same time, though, I really enjoyed it. That's why I'm taking this film. I'm so happy to go back to the cinema again. And honestly, this is a perfect film to go back to the cinema to. It really was. If you just go for what you expect with this film, a Godzilla vs. Kong film, that's what it delivers on. Honestly, I enjoyed it so much. It's got some big problems, but you know what? It delivers on what you want from a Godzilla vs. Kong film. It delivers on that big, epic monster action. And that's why I like this film so much. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Godzilla vs. Kong is a 7 out of 10 from me. Anyway guys, what do you think of Godzilla vs. Kong? Please leave a comment down below and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Anyway guys, thank you as always for watching, and if you haven't yet, please do click down below and like, subscribe on the video, and look forward to many more both film and TV videos coming very soon on this channel. See you guys again soon, but bye for now, bye!